Qualifying in the books, United States Grand Prix, and what a session it was. This was super exciting. It could have been because I was commentating on it live, but I thought this was awesome. And this was something I kind of wish in the back of my mind always would happen with Valtteri, that he'd step up and take this. And really, it's unlikely Lewis doesn't clinch, but this is awesome that he can even put, some pressure on this. So, yeah, let's just go through the actual results themselves, and I'll kind of just go through my thoughts. But let's look at the facts first. The fact is, here is how we're going to start tomorrow. So I've been playing around with the setup of these blogs and stuff, but it gives me some more interesting stuff to show you guys. So at least you're not just looking at a blank page or some scrolling pictures like everyone else. So you've got Valtteri P1, you've got Vettel P2, Max P3, Leclerc P4, and Hamilton P5. The list goes on. Albon, Sainz, Norris. So both of the McLarens there. Danny Rick had a surprise little sneaky P9 and Gasly P10. So here are the times themselves. Obviously, I got it in this table form too. In case you just want straight to the point, you can click the blog. I'll link to it in this video itself. But yeah, Valtteri's first ever pole here. Now is a perfect time to do that from the Finn. So that's an awesome drive for him. His preliminary time, so how it kind of works is, and sorry if you're not being condescending, but how it works in the qualifying session, obviously you've got the 3 runs. Everyone, you have 5 drivers kicked out, and then in that final shootout run, in most runs, but especially in the final shootout, you've got basically 2 major runs. Because you've got to start thinking about tire degradation, but at the same time rubbering in of the track in track evolution. The more rubber that gets on the racing line, the better they can get grip, the quicker they can go. That wasn't the case in the Circuit of Americas, which we've actually talked about that in these videos, but it wasn't like my idea. I got it actually from the strategy team at Mercedes. They were commenting on it in FP1, how it may seem like the track is speeding up. That's just because conditions are getting better. But at a circuit like this, it's not as if evolution is as important at a place where, that's actually not true. So like a Japan, you've got, and Monza's a great example. That's how we got in that whole Monza gate, as I love to call it. And I made all that content about it. But this was not the case here. And the longer you waited, the worse the times got. So Valtteri's preliminary time that he ran on his first go in the shootout. So Q3, they have the go, then they got like the 5-minute break and they see who can leave latest. So there was no real shenanigans like I thought there might be, but I think Valtteri kind of knew that, so he got out there. He really pushed on his first lap, and he ended up running a 1:33.750. So, or I'm sorry, 1:32.029 in his Q3 run. So his Q3 run stood. It looked like Vettel was actually gonna pip him there, but he did not. Hamilton had a terrible sector 2, but still ran a 1:32.321. But that gap time's pretty big. So I didn't include gap times here because no one really cares. But I care, but I don't know if you guys care, so I didn't include it. But that's a pretty big gap between the 3.21 and at the top his teammate an 0.29. So that he had an error in the second sector. Still finished his lap though. Of course he needed to. Albon just behind him at a 5.48. I really do think that being on the same row with Lewis is going to help Albon, especially gunning through the first 5 laps. Think about that. He's never really done that. So I think that'll be interesting. Also because Albon's pretty good with space. So seeing those 2 drive next to each other will be pretty fun. The McLarens, like I said, Carlos Sainz was back and forth, hot and cold, like how he was driving all weekend. And he strung a really good lap together. And Lando himself, what can you say, man? Like that, honestly, no longer, almost not a teenager, but incredible weekend. No matter what happens, hopefully I will be gutted if he has bad luck again, in the last race. So you just don't want to see it happen. But Lando deserves it. Incredible race. Actually, was P1 for a while there. So Lando Norris held that P1 spot in the qualifying session, I'm saying. But yeah, so he really does deserve a good drive and a good result tomorrow. So hopefully luck's on his side. Now, in terms of how he makes errors and his performance himself, that's on him. But if he can hold that, he deserves it. Hopefully bad luck doesn't catch him. So Danny Rick at a 1:33.488. You can see his times actually steadily get better, which is pretty normal. The one thing I'll call out is as I said that, setting up for this video, I noticed Gasly got progressively worse through the qualifying session. So I think that's really just him punching not above his weight per se, but he's really tapping out. He's squeezing out every ounce of the car that he can get in that Toro Rosso. So that's, I mean, for all things considered, that's a really good result for him. And maintaining his mistakes and errors and stuff like that, he deserves to be there, of course. So you got Nico Hulkenberg at P11. And Kevin Magnussen, who for a while there, he actually was holding a really good spot. But yeah, he couldn't. It was the last sector. But these Ferrari engines are dominant in a couple of these sectors, and it's across the customer teams too. So that Haas looks pretty good, but we all know the Haas race pace. So let's just hope, they can just hold on as long as they possibly can. But Daniel Kvyat in P13. Also worth noting, just remember that Albon's better time was actually deleted. So don't be surprised if they get really strict on these turns. 19 is the big one. That's where everyone's just kind of blowing through it. But they adapted. So in the qualifying session, only Albon struggled with this. He's been struggling all weekend with turn 19, but turn 9 has been a problem. And they haven't been penalizing them because it's kind of dangerous, honestly. There's a bump in the road, and so they go wide to avoid it. But I mean, two things can be true at once. They are getting track position and a better exit. So I'm not sure what they're going to do about that. I'm sure there will be a debrief or some notes that Crofty will read off right before the announcement. I'm sure the stewards will say something, though. But yeah, let's plow on. Lance Stroll, P14. Grosjean, 15 again. For a while, he was looking pretty good there. He was just pushed out of Q3. So yeah, you hate to see it, but again, coming back from that shunt, it's respectable, but unfortunately he was one of the last drivers in. And then you've got the last 5 drivers that were kicked out in Q1: Antonio Giovinazzi, Kimi Räikkönen, both of the Alphas, which Kimi's moved around on the timesheet all weekend. I want to do some content about Kimi. I think there might be a lot going on with the engine that I'll never know. So just a great start to the year, and it's just not coming together for him. And this is just another race where it just is not there for some reason. You've got Sergio Perez. It will be starting from pit lane. George Russell out-qualifies Robert Kubica yet again. So nothing new there. You've got, and just a reminder, Leclerc would actually exchange his unit. So he had that issues. He had an oil leak in the practice session, came back in FP3, came back for qualifying and was fine, will not face a penalty for exchanging parts. I think that's a smart move, considering there's still 2 races left. They only had one of these components left. So if he put it on and has a failure tomorrow, or, God forbid, in Brazil, I really don't know what would happen then, how he'd finish the season, but he's still got to go to Abu Dhabi. So it looks like they're going to put this, I believe, a Spec 2. It looks like a Spec 2 in there. And he struggled on the tires, which obviously the tires could be as a result of many things, but, race pace is one of those. So I'm not expecting a ton from Leclerc tomorrow, honestly. I'm really not expecting a ton. And it all stems from that oil leak and switching to the Spec 2. So I am expecting a ton from Sergio. So he'll probably get driver of the day, I can probably guess. And really the things to watch out for in the race tomorrow, what I want to call attention to is I really don't think there's any way Valtteri lets this slip from his hands. I think Valtteri's one of the more underrated drivers, and a lot of people are going to argue with me on that. That's fine. That's fair. Bring facts, please, though. But I really do think he's an underrated driver, and I think when it's crunch time and he really needs to get in there, that's when I think Valtteri shows up. I think Valtteri struggles when, all hope seems lost. There's a couple races where it's like, what is Valtteri doing? Where he's just like P8 once? So with no issues, just P8. Was that Hungary? I think that was Hungary. So, but when it comes time for Valtteri to get in there and drive, and it reminds me immediately, I immediately think of Australia, the way he drove that car. I really do think that's what this is going to be like, but we'll see. That's probably just me just wanting chaos. So if he secures P1, then Lewis has to show up and take his 6 consecutive driver titles. But if he doesn't, Lewis can DNF every single race the rest of the year and still win. So I just really want this to be something that Lewis has to continue to fight and get his elbows out for. But that's what to watch for tomorrow. Watch how Valtteri drives the car. Basically, I feel like we'll know in the first 3 laps. Going into the first turn, Vettel jokingly said, okay, well, it looks like it's a closer line on the inside. It looks like it's closer going up to the first turn, right? And he's just joking, but I think he's got a point. I really do think the straight line speed, how Valtteri is off the starts, though, is going to be another thing. I think he kind of cheats. That's just me. He does time it. And when I did the Vettel content showing how it wasn't a jump start, I firmly believe it was a jump start, but I know why they didn't penalize him. Valtteri in that race too, no one talks about it. Valtteri 100% was anticipating the lights out. And I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't get a penalty doing that. But I think he's got to get a good start, because if Vettel takes it to him on that first turn, that's going to be fascinating. But watch Verstappen contact with Leclerc. I think Verstappen's not as good off the line. We've seen that. Ferrari, Leclerc will be having the spec too, so he'll be slower. They're going to be really close going into turn 1, I think. I don't hope, but I think there will be contact. And I think I had Lewis on the second row with Max instead of Leclerc. I definitely think there would have been contact there. But the fact that Max is above all of them, they've got to fight through it. And Max and Hamilton already had an incident, not a full-blown incident, but they already almost touched, and Max had some very strong words to say about Hamilton. Yeah, I don't hope for it, but I think there's going to be contact. And you guys let me know in the comment section below, who do you think is going to win the race? I just want to give you kind of the overview, who was kicked out. I know a lot of people don't actually talk about this. Who was kicked out when? So, like I said, this because it does speak to, the confidence and the pace of the driver. But out in Q1, this usual suspects, and same here, usual suspects. Sometimes you see Kvyat up, Gasly drop, but today Kvyat is out in Q2, and Gasly made it through. Let's see what Danny Rick does, honestly. Tire management is going to be a big thing. Watch Vettel go on the hards. I really do think that's probably going to be, or a really long stint on the mediums, which will be risky. Who picks the hard tire and throws that on quickly? I don't know. But if you think there's not an undercut brewing, you're crazy. So I really do think this is going to be down to tire management, race strategy, and really who just wants it more. But Valtteri, man, I think he's going to come out like a bat out of hell, push to turn 1. And if he can clear Vettel turn 1, I think he's fine. And then you got to add up from all the practice sessions, who made the most amount of mistakes? The answer is Leclerc. And then we also got to talk about what we've talked about before. Max overdrives when he's frustrated. So does Leclerc. That's going to be fireworks. I think, in my opinion, I'm not hoping for it. Again, for the 9th time, no one in the comment section, please say, oh, you just want contact. No, I don't. I just think there will be, based on what we know, what they've said to each other, the fact that tensions almost blew over with Hamilton already. So, yeah, that's kind of the analysis and my thoughts. I think Valtteri takes this. I want Valtteri to take this. I think he takes this. I think Vettel will give him a run for his money. I think the Spec 2 engine on Leclerc is not going to do him any favors. And Hamilton will clinch the title and be a baby about it. That's kind of my guess. But I don't really know what's going to happen with Verstappen, because I'm fighting whether I don't want there to be contact, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be. I just don't know if he'll retire. And I just hate wishing the worst on someone. I just don't think Verstappen's it'll be just like the last race where he has to recover from contact. I do think Albon will undercut. I think he might be the undercut, and I think he might get his first podium. So yeah, just for fun, I'm saying that. Albon will get his first podium. You heard it here first. And Valtteri will take this, and it will be close whether Lewis clinches, but I think he will, and he'll be pissed about it. And he'll be a sourpuss, kind of like when they won the constructors. And what did he say? Like, congrats, guys. And that was it. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to fuel Ferrari transfers. I think a lot of things are going to happen. A lot of those are just theories. Let's keep this to facts. That's the breakdown. That's the grid. This is a qualifying review. I'll see you tomorrow for the live if you hop over on the YouTube live session. If not, I'll see you for the race update. But either way, thanks for checking this out. See you tomorrow, guys.